Thank you, David. It's a very nice introduction and very, you set up expectations very high, but on the other hand, also some realistic part. And I'm happy, and I think you are probably the best of the best advocates for a vaccine, because you are here today at 4 o'clock when those of you that are not from Delhi could have go and see the beautiful Delhi. But this city doesn't sleep, so I think after we are done, you can still go and enjoy what's going on here. It's a big honor to speak in the closing of these 3 days, and I really want to thank our colleagues from ERAS, from TBVI, from ICMR, from ITSHI, and all the other acronyms that we all know, and I'm sorry if I didn't say everyone and my panel here. Yeah, I think I kind of said it all. Department of Biotechnology and Ministry of Science and Technology is what and then some of the dear colleagues and friends that I see here in the room. And I want to say to David that, and I want to make a link with this journalist part that he said, and which is absolutely true, by the way. And I worked for a good amount of time being the head of an interview section in a journal that was a glossy magazine in my country, and was busy in the period of 92 to at least till I stayed there, 97, and showing to people very scandalous parts of personalities. And this is what was making the newspaper sell. And since then, I am very happy. I never had a problem in interacting with people, but I'm also very happy with any journalist writing anything about TB. The most negative or critical it is, the better it is, because we'll generate attention and we'll have people also entering into the debates. So expect to have this. Don't be worried to face it, because that's how we will get attention. Things that are unclear or that are not said very punchy, or things that are very fluffy will not sell anywhere, neither to the journalists, but neither to the political level. And I will revert to this in my speech. Now, this is a closing part of what was an immense and beautiful forum of 2018 for vaccines. And this is basically like, what can we take home? There was an amazing panel before. I was a bit in and out because there are always some things that unfortunately are happening, but I was able to hear all the previous panel speakers on some of their interventions, and I think you, Michelle, and Farid and the others made all the points that could have been made. But I have four points that I think are very important. I will start with the preamble, which is India. I spent yesterday a big amount of time with people from the Ministry of Health and colleagues from the Research Institute here in India. And if this country will move, all my colleagues from here, from India, we are impressed with your hard work, and I am very impressed with the potential that exists here, that exists in scaling up what we have, but also in pushing the research to go further. And as I said in the first day, as I said yesterday, and I will keep saying, if India is moving, the world will move, and India is moving. In March, in 3 weeks' time, the week of 12 March, specifically 13, 14, 15, we have our board meeting here in Delhi, but before that, we will have a Delhi and TB summit, in which we will have the Prime Minister Modi attending and opening, and there are some great moments that will be announced over there, because we will have a lot of heads of institutions and heads of different donor agencies that will pledge support for TB, but also for the Indian program. So there will be a huge momentum there, plus some very good moment for the research in India that will be also hopefully announced around then. So there is a lot of energy coming up there. But I want everyone to realize that the scale of things happening in India this time for TB is not seen anywhere in the world. And if we keep the pace, this is the biggest risk. It's like a marathon. It's like the country started this run, but this run will not finish. It's like, okay, we are tired, we can take a break from this TB in a year or two. No, this has to be sustained if we are genuine about bending anything by 2025. The second, this was like the preamble about India and so on. The second thing that I want to say is that I hope each of us leaving the meeting are able to take home the core of the science here. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of presentations, a lot of posters, but we should be able going from here to say these were the things that give us some hope for the future. I came in an elevator with a gentleman who thought I am from Justin Trudeau's team, which I actually said afterwards I should have said yes and go in that room and see what he says. But I didn't. And I said, no, I'm here for the Global Vaccine Forum. So the guy is like, oh, so you have a vaccine? To which I was like, oh my God. And the elevator, I'm not exaggerating, was reaching the ground floor. Was not even enough to do the 20-second pitch. And I was like, no, but we will have one very soon. He's like, next year. I say, yeah, 2020. He's like, okay, good luck. So I am turning to, I don't know if you, David, can just say in 2 minutes, what's the science that we should take home, that if in the elevator, now going up, I meet Trudeau, I'll be able to say, this is what happened here, and this gives me hope.
Well, Lucica, that is really a challenge. But my take, if I were to summarize this meeting, is number one is a sense of incredible optimism. We have vaccines that either we just heard results on or we will hear results of in the next year that are very exciting and reflect a huge amount of work on the community. So that's point one, is that this isn't theoretical. We actually have clinical results coming up quite soon. Two is not only do we have those results coming up, but it's clear that we have signals of protection, and that's very exciting. I think that was reflected in the prevention of infection study, which was very exciting. It was reflected in some of the animal work we saw with real signals of protection. And it's really reflected in novel vaccines that we saw. So this is a really optimistic moment. And whether one or all of those will prove to be the right answer by 2025, I have no idea. But this is a very exciting and I think sort of transitional period for us in vaccinology. And I think that was reflected in all the optimism in this meeting.
That's great. So, you know, there is a sense of optimism which we will have to pair with a sense of urgency as well, that, as I said, the previous panel said as well. So these are the core of take-home messages that we can put from the science piece. The second thing that I wanted to say as a message, and I think it came from the panel as also from the other speakers, is whatever our asks are, whatever our demands are, or hopes, we have to phrase them in a measurable way. We are very good at making even commitments. We have so many declarations. We have so many plans. It has to be measurable. So if we ask something, it should not be, we need more funding for vaccine. It should be, we need $2 billion more, that by 2022, we will be able to come with a vaccine that might not answer all the questions, but will protect or will make sure that if we revaccinate, it will happen this. So we are planning to put this thinking in all the asks that are coming out from now. We had a discussion even with WHO DG, Dr. Tedros. We are working together between Stop TB and WHO to make a joint action, joint plan for a call globally on some of the things that are aligned with the end TB strategy, and all the asks in it, we need to make them measurable. And with measure comes accountability. And I think here we need to become, and we will become, is not we need, we will become much more demanding. And the more demanding should go to donors, but should go to all the other partners engaged, that if there is a commitment to support a vaccine, we cannot have a situation in which a first part is funded and then people wait years to get to the second phase and other years to go to the third phase. People need to understand the need of this continuum and the need of trust that we have to build in the researchers, because it's very difficult to do all this piecemeal work that I think is very difficult for some people to understand. So again, the messaging around this is not just put measure, but also ensure continuity. One of the best, I don't know if best, one of the very good messages that caught was when I started, which was very saying to few donors that every year we delay investment, we'll delay with 1 year a vaccine. I don't even know if it's true. But the moment you say if you don't invest in 2018, you will not have a vaccine by 2024, will be 2025. And you need to be mindful of the implications. And everything, the same every time. People are starting resonating and understanding the need to keep it up and the pressure. It doesn't yet come with the level of funding, but we have an opportunity, what we want. We have an opportunity with the UN high-level meeting and with the entire TB noise that is coming in 2018 to capitalize on this. So our messaging being measurable, being paired with a sense of urgency, and being very concrete, linked very much with this sense of it has to happen right now. If we construct it right, it will work. Accountability is not easy. And I'll stop a bit about this here, because when you say about something being measured, you need to keep people accountable. And people being held accountable means for sure donors, but should mean also us, should mean everyone. But I tell you that this is not an easy discussion. The moment we said we put an accountability framework linked to the UNHLM, that will be very much for the heads of states of governments, that will need to continue their investments, that will need to deliver on the promises, that should be. But then when you say it should be paired with accountability of donors, of institutions, of Stop TB, of WHO, of Global Fund, and of others, that we are all together in this, that moment becomes a very slippery discussion, because of course when it's about accountability it's very difficult. But none of this piece will work without each other. So we need to create a sense of togetherness and the sense of coming together that very much, and collaboration very much in the TB community is not really there. And this is my, this was science measurement. My third is linked to the fact that it might sound a bit silly, but I think, and I think you, Nick, said it when we were chatting in the first day, is the collaboration, communication, and coordination that needs to happen, not just in the research area, but in general in TB. If you look at country level, for example, when you look at implementation, there are a lot of partners, a lot of people doing technical assistance, advising the country on guidance, advising the country on scaling up, advising the country on many issues, sometimes overlapping with very little coordination between them. In the research field, the world will force us to work much closer together. Money will not be easier to obtain. If anything, will be more difficult. The more a sort of collaboration and coordination and a continuum in which visually is very clear who starts something, which are the groups working on something, who comes on board later, and who is really in charge of what piece in a very transparent manner will help a lot, in such a way that we can ensure that it's not a competition, which ultimately will be somehow, but from the moment of the development of something till it's reaching the market, it has to be a much better coordination and collaboration between the different partners engaged in this. Linked to this is, I know here in the room are probably the most interested colleagues in the vaccine world, and I'm very happy to see you all here. Becoming an advocate for this is not necessary qualification. It's not easy, but it's also not impossible. And everyone should be equipped not to be a great advocate, but should be equipped to dare to step up and to question why not. The best comment that I ever heard in terms of daring for more was I had to negotiate for Minister of Health of South Africa to be the chair of our board, because I wanted the board of Stop TB Partnership to go at a very different level. We used to be very unknown, very quiet, so in few years we are in a different place now, and a lot is due to a very strong board and board leadership. So I had long discussions with the ministers over hours and hours. And he told me that, and I said, how is he succeeding in South Africa to obtain and to be able to roll out new tools, to push research, to engage so much on technical and other aspects. And then he said that when he had to speak with the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Finance got very worried of this amount of funds that was needed for whatever he was asking, and was saying, can we afford this? And then he said, but can we afford not to do this? So that's exactly what we should have. We don't need to do a training in advocacy that takes weeks. Every single one, whatever the job it is, being it a technician in the lab, being it an epidemiologist, a pharmacist, being it a researcher, even before the lab piece, communities obviously, being it an NTP manager and many others. We just need to learn in TB to stand up for what should have happened many years ago, to stand up for the fact that it is a time for the world to understand that TB, which was declared a global emergency 25 years ago by WHO, we are here 25 years later in the situation of TB killing more than any other infectious disease killer. So if you have a Martian here coming without knowing anything, we'll just say, starting with you, Madame Ditiu, go home. Everyone failed. If you have an emergency for 25 years and you don't see any decrease, you either arrive at this stage, something went wrong. And there were many things that probably went wrong, but one is that I think we were shy, we were too much technical, we were too much into our own, I'm a medical doctor, do the patient, do the daily work, without raising the head and say, wait a minute, I can do much more. What is going on that we don't have a vaccine? You know, we have now people pushing for an Ebola vaccine in 8 months. And here we are, since 1921, whenever was the BCG done, so many tens of years and, you know, having this conversation. So it doesn't need to be a training. It has to be a stand-up for you, but also for those that depend on us. Because let's make it all very clear. A lot of us are here because we have a job for this. I am paid to be the head of Stop TB Partnership, right? But there are a lot of people that are out there that depend on us. And we here should understand that we are very lucky to be here. And we are very lucky to be in the position to fight for others. And lives of people that are out there depend on us. And I tell you, once you feel this in your bones, you cannot even sleep well at night if you remember this. It's true that very often we forget. But when you think that you, with whatever we decide or discuss here, we can save lives. We don't save a plant. We save a human being life. I tell you that then you become restless. And then you become very unhappy. And then you become very frustrating. And then you can say it to everyone, to donors, to all these people that can invest much more, and rather than that, they put in whatever armament and whatever other idiotic things, that becomes our front line. And it will not happen right away that things will change. And it needs to be many of us to convince. But if each of us, single of us, becomes an advocate for better funding, for what we have right now, but much and foremost for what we should have and we don't, and most and foremost a vaccine, that's the moment when we need to stand up. It's not easy, but we should not care, because I tell you why. We are getting old in our jobs. Irrespective of the age, we are growing old, even if you are 22. There will not be many opportunities like this year. There will be no many opportunities like maybe next year. This will go. We make it or break it. What do we have to lose? Nothing. I don't know if my head will not explode tonight because I get very easy angry and my blood pressure goes very high. So I better say what I have to say when I have the opportunity. And I want you to do the same, because you never know when the opportunity comes. The last thing, 2018, there will be some great moments happening. We have this thing in March happening here in Delhi. It's a big honor because the government of India, Stop TB Partnership, and WHOCR are co-hosting all these events. We will have, as I say, a lot of, I hope, practical discussions and commitments, and not just say, let's do some more research. No, no, no. What exactly you mean when you say that? And there will be some chain of events going from there with the World Health Assembly. South Africa is the hosting SADC heads of states, hosting BRICS heads of states. So we speak here, I'm looking at you, sir. But I spoke yesterday also with Jogan and the minister team to put TB on their agenda, and there is a culmination with the UN high-level meeting. The UN high-level meeting, as we speak right now, people are in New York negotiating around the modalities. It's the 4th meeting, and the missions from New York, which are ministers of foreign affairs representatives, are sitting there, and they try to understand what are these people, what is this TB thing, because all of them that we met, and we met 74 of them, were convinced that TB is eliminated, and why are we doing a UN high-level meeting on TB? Believe me. So you start by saying, no, 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 it's not eliminated, let me tell you, including in your country, madam from, you know, high-burden country X or Y or Z. So as we speak right now, they are in New York today, having the last negotiation on the modalities, which is sort of the logistic piece on the UNHLM. The meeting will be one day. The date that we fought, and it looks like 90% we will get it, is 26th of September. We have the 2 co-facilitators of the meeting are the ambassador to UN of Japan and the ambassador of Antigua and Barbuda to UN. They are the 2 co-facilitators. And we hope to have a keynote high speaker, a head of state or a head of a government that will be driving the meeting and the enthusiasm. And the secret that I'm sharing now with all of you in the world is we hope that that will be Prime Minister Modi. We expect to have around 40 heads of states there. But the meeting will be 6 hours. Huh? So all this work, all this agitation is for 6 hours in New York. Okay, let's set that clear. If we are unable not only to nail the asks, because people very often will sign on a lot of things, and I signed on so many commitments that are on my fridge that I will lose 10 kilos every year, that you can write a book with that, okay? If nobody holds the people signing accountable, we will not get anywhere. So that's the biggest thing, is how do we set up an accountability mechanism with the heads of states that whatever it will be signed, and we hope it will be signed something very big, will be held accountable for what is written there. There will be a document to which a lot of people in the room, but also outsiders, will input as key asks from the TB community. I think the research is already very well presented there. I think we will have opportunities to do some side event on research that should be focused on research, should bring researchers around, researchers and communities. Nothing in between. The rest is background noise. The force will come from people that ask and people that can give, plus the donors. You don't need to bring technicals like me to say, oh, there are 1.7 million people that died. We know that. So it will be an important moment in New York. Much more important will be what happens after. And that's why we need the attention of everyone there, especially on this accountability piece. But the last thing I say is this: World TB Day will come. Many things will come. The plea that I have to all of us is, I think the thing we leave from here is very clear. If we want to really end the disease and really get to the, not even to the zeros, but to the a manageable 10 per 100,000, we need a vaccine, right? And investments are not easy to obtain. But if we are able to speak with a united voice, all of us, and if we are able to call all of us for a vaccine, we will get it. And we just need to believe it. And I tell you that together, we can make any dream a reality. And I tell you that India also will end TB by 2025. But we should not stop at India. We should stop when we will all end TB by 2030. Thank you very much.